soon. Are we good? Are we on? Oh, I think here we go. All right, I'm live. Do you guys see the video?
Buddy.
Okay, awesome. Number one, I can see in the chat, Eric, quote, I bet Riley blew chunks all over his Omnibus collection the second last week. No, I did not. I went straight into my kitchen and I ate a bunch of food and then I went to sleep.
That's the way to do it, like a champ.
Yeah.
And went to work the next morning, no hangover.
Yeah, well.
That's not true.
I went to work the next morning, and my biggest mistake is that I did not have any water at all.
Amateur.
And I drank it like you guys saw how fast I went.
Yeah, you were. How many cups did you down that?
It was like 3 glasses.
Yeah, and they weren't small glasses.
No, they were pretty decent size. It was like a nice highball. So I went through that, like 3 of those. And no water. That's why I was stuffing my face, because I was like, I need to offset this. And then I went directly to sleep, and I woke up, and I just felt like I was going to be sick. So immediately I went. I told my boss, I'm like, I don't feel good. And he just sent me home. He's like, I can't have you here. Anyway, yeah. Hey, guys, welcome to another episode of Omnibroslive.
The hangover episode.
Don't tell anybody, but this is actually Alcoholics Anonymous for Riley.
The morning after episode.
It's an intervention.
Intervention.
Anyway, I am your host this week, Riley Moore, the Omnibus Collector. Thank you so much for tuning in on our show this week. And, of course, along with me, I've got Luis, Hardcover Reviews himself.
Howdy, howdy. How's everybody doing?
And I've got the OmniDog, Jess Bragg.
Hey-o, hit him with time.
Baba boy.
All right, so we've got another great show planned for you guys tonight. One hopefully full of less of my rants while I've been imbibing. I will only be imbibing in water tonight.
That's vodka.
Shh. We're going to be talking about event comics, the very thing that led me to drunkenness last week.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to be trying to talk more about some of the events that we love, and we might talk about a couple of the ones that we hate. I really wanted to maybe talk about what we think makes an event good, and what we think makes or breaks an event. So we'll get to that a little later, but of course, first we're going to start, as we always do, talking about A, what we've received this past week, and B, the things that we've been reading this past week. So either of you guys, whoever wants to start first.
I always start, so let Hardcover start.
Okay. I guess, are we starting with things we read this week or things we received?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay. Things I read. It was a really light week for me, but I read the first volume of Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira. For those of you that have seen the anime, this drifts widely into different places than the anime does. I enjoyed the hell out of this. And in fact, the next 6 weeks for Manga Mondays, the manga show that I do on my channel, I'm going to be covering Akira. The basic premise of this is that in, I believe, 1993, an atomic bomb goes off in Japan, and that starts World War III. Fast forward to about 2030, and you're following this biker gang, and the leader of this biker gang is named Kaneda. And Kaneda, he's brash, he's kind of funny, he's a bit lighthearted in tone. He's also a really big asshole. You find that out later on in the series. He's the leader of this biker gang, and his best friend is Tetsuo. Now, Tetsuo, at the beginning of the story, it's pretty apparent that he's envious of Kaneda, and he's always like, man, I'm going to prove that I'm better than you, pretty much. He's got that mindset of like, man, I know I'm better than this guy, and it's pretty apparent. They don't say it outright, but you can see. At the beginning of the story, he shoots past Kaneda, and they're all riding their motorcycles, and he is really freaked out by a certain situation because he's about to hit a kid But when he sees the kid looks like an old man. The motorcycle crashes and blows up, and the kid just suddenly disappears. Military shows up, they pick Tetsuo up, and they experiment on him, and a few days later he shows back up and he finds out that he's got like these psychic abilities, and then the show goes off from there, and then the manga goes off from there. It's an incredibly great read. It's awesome. I love the backgrounds in this, because the backgrounds in here are used to also tell a story and to convey this kind of not necessarily post-apocalyptic world, because this is New Tokyo, and the world in Akira, it's very much well and alive. I love this. I really did. I'm a huge fan of the classic anime, and I really like the way that they diverged in this a lot, because how they diverged is that they ended up giving these characters, more of the side characters than anything else, more of a backstory. You really like it. You really enjoy spending time with them, because in the anime you really don't get much time with them. It's mostly just Tetsuo and Akira. I mean, Tetsuo and Kaneda. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. As a fan of the anime, if you have watched the anime and you've never read the manga, I highly recommend you do read the manga. It expands upon the mythos so much more. I mean, infinitely so much more. And I think that's a product because the movie came out in 1993, but the manga didn't finish for another 2 years. So where the movie ends, I believe the movie ends in the 3rd volume. The manga keeps going from there.
Okay.
And that's what I read.
Just so you know, I was listening.
Same.
Huh?
I
We're
too-
listening.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're
And
still here.
that's pretty much where I'm at as far as what I've read this week.
Well, that was definitely a good read, considering I've read like nothing this week.
It was a light week for me, man.
I read a bunch of stuff.
Oh, and for those that are wondering, this is a manga that actually reads in the traditional American way. They published it from left to right, not right to left, like most manga. I was making sure I got that right too. I was like, left to right. Okay.
Left to right. So you start like a regular book.
Yeah.
Okay. And so am I talking about what I read since Riley didn't read anything?
Well, I can talk about what little I read, but you can go first.
Like, okay, I actually got to read several things. One of the things I read was, of course, I'm a Bombshells fan, so I read the first trade paperback of DC Bombshells, and written by Marguerite Bennett and drawn by Marguerite Salvage, another girl named Marguerite. So I found this book to be, I think, the first collection. She has to introduce a lot of characters in this book, and I will show you some of the artwork, which I think the artwork is really good. She has to introduce Batwoman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Stargirl, Mira. She also throws in Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. And here's Harley Quinn with Poison Ivy. Despite all those people that she's introducing, you'd think it would be disjointed, but it works pretty cohesively, and it's set in World War II, the very beginning of World War II, and Supergirl and Stargirl are Russians that are adopted. Stargirl's parents adopt Kara, or Kara as she's called in the Supergirl TV show. They adopt her, and she grows up in Mother Russia, and it is actually really well written. I think it's got a lot of strong female leads in it. You're dealing with an awful lot of it's nothing but strong female leads dealing with the beginnings of World War II and how these characters are introduced and how they end up working together. And of course, Harley Quinn is great in it because I love all things Harley Quinn. They do a good job with her. They do a good job with, Zatanna and Constantine. I forgot, they're in it too. So there's a lot going on in this book. Interestingly, we see Mira, but not Aquaman. The only real guy we see in it is Steve Trevor for Wonder Woman. But I really like this book. I'm looking forward to reading the second book. I expected something light and frothy, and it's actually pretty. I'm not going to say deep, but they flesh out the characters really well. Here's the propaganda poster for Stargirl and Supergirl. They flesh out the characters really well, and it's an interesting story about how they get together. So I really dug it. It was a good book. I dug it. On the Jess scale of don't dig it, and I did dig it, that gets a I dug it. And one book I read that I didn't dig, and this may be surprising to people because I know it's a favorite of people, is Outcast. I read this this week, and I don't know if it's just me or, well, it's always just me, but since it's all about me, but I wasn't feeling it in this book, although I did dig the art and the colors. It's a very nicely drawn with lots of cool colors in it. The story is just one of those stories so far in the first volume where the protagonist just keeps wanting to get out of his responsibilities and his long history of being able to help sort of exorcise demons from people. And it's a conspiracy with, I don't know, maybe the personification of the devil in there. But I didn't feel, this is strictly my opinion, I just didn't feel like it was breaking new ground in the whole sort of possession demon genre. He the whole book is he's fighting, getting drawn back into it again, with this minister who performs regular exorcisms. And I don't know, I just didn't feel like it broke any ground. It just felt too familiar to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say it was bad, but I just wasn't feeling it. I'll wait. I'm going to wait to see what people think about the second volume when it comes out before I automatically just go ahead and buy it. Maybe it gets stronger in the next book, but I wasn't digging it on the Jess scale. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I just didn't dig it. One book that I totally dig is Gail Simone's Clean Room. This is volume 2.
Oh, I want to read that.
Oh, she is crushing it in this book. One thing is it is some of the most gorgeous art by John Davis Hunt, and beautiful colors again. It's about this so-called cult leader who can see things that other people can't. What it involves, she's been able to see these things since birth, or since she was a little girl, and it involves, this is the second arc of the story, and she's the center of this sort of Scientology-like community, but there's a real evil out there that only she can see, and it turns out that there's another female, a couple of female, this is another strong female protagonist type of story, but it's hard to explain just how great it is, but it is a compelling read that I just thought, one thing that sucks you in is just the gorgeous art, but and in this particular arc, the cult leader is assassinated. I don't want to spoil anything, but she's assassinated, and that's sort of what propels the story forward. And there's kind of a mystery going on. I'm not doing a good job explaining why I think you should get it, but this book I think is just fantastically written with all kinds of conspiracies going on. I generally don't like conspiracies, but this one really grabbed me, really pulled me in. I strongly suggest people get Volume 1 and Volume 2 because I think this is one of the best things Gail Simone's ever done, and I don't think it gets enough love. So it's by Vertigo, but I'm going to say it's by Valiant, so everybody goes out and buys it. Clean Room is a book I dug, and you need to read, and I'm not kidding. Paper Girls. So good, I can't even believe it. It's about paper girls that get pulled into the future. Paper girls, like girls delivering their paper on the paper route by what's that guy's name? Oh yeah, Brian K. Vaughan. It is amazing because they get pulled into the future and end up meeting future versions of themselves, and they get things. They're in the near future, and there's artifacts from the far future of themselves that get brought back, and they all meet in the near future. And I can't even tell you how good this book is. Its concepts are just amazing about time and how these sort of invaders are around, and it is really a great read. I'm sure everybody's already reading it. The art is great. It's by Cliff Chang, and it is just an amazing book that I think I don't know that I see people talking about it enough, maybe because it's just in trade paperback form, but I think this is definitely as strong so far as Why the Last Man.
Wow.
I'm making that comparison because it is compelling. It keeps me very involved. The characters are very interesting and fleshed out. It can be confusing. It does because it deals with time travel concepts and things, Apple products from the far future that can do amazing things, and sort of alien type creatures. It can require a second read, but yeah, this is way strong, and I totally dug it on the Jess scale. It is a book that you can blind buy and be happy with 1 and 2. And the last 2 books I read, I'm sort of behind on. Well, I'm way behind on Rebirth because I'm not collecting it in singles form, but I read Titan's Hunt because I also read Lois and Clark, and I wanted to get a taste of what was going on. And I not generally a fan of Teen Titans, so I wasn't sure what generally was going on in this book, but I sort of went with it. And the cover is an homage to a famous cover from back in the past by Nick Cardy, and it's setting it up so that their memories are coming back, and it's Wally West that they're missing, and they seem to be they've forgotten who they were and who this mystery villain is, and their memories sort of start to come back. It's actually a very interesting story. I thought because I didn't know anything. I didn't know who Twister was or any of these characters generally. So if you knew Teen Titans from the previous incarnations, you would probably have a better feel for this book. But I didn't know anything, and I still really enjoyed reading this book, and it helps set it up well for Rebirth. The art is great. So if you're interested in Rebirth at all, this and Lois and Clark are 2 good books to start with. Road to Rebirth. I'm primed and ready for those hardcovers to come out now because I really want to read a lot more Rebirth. So that Titans Hunt and Lois and Clark are 2 books I definitely recommend. And it wouldn't be a show unless I mentioned something from Valiant, which is the only book that I got to, the only book that I had from Valiant. I tried to start, and I couldn't really start because, yeah, there you go. You've got it too. This was the only thing I had to start with, and I could only read the first 2 arcs in it because the third arc gets into Harbinger Wars, which I got Harbinger and Harbinger Wars this week. So I can read Harbinger, which is apparently the book you're supposed to start with. But I found Bloodshot to be well-written, well-paced, freaking great art. For a brand new universe, I didn't have any trouble getting into it. I didn't have any trouble liking it or getting connected with it. It's completely different concept where Bloodshot has nanites in his blood that help repair him, keep him alive. It's sort of he's sort of like Wolverine, where the nanites, except that the nanites are in his blood and can repair him and give him all kinds of interesting, amazing powers. But he does have to feed. He has to eat to keep the nanites fueled and going, and it's a big universe that I'm just getting into. So I don't know that I can recommend starting with Bloodshot like I did. I guess you should probably start with Harbinger, but I enjoyed a lot the 2/3 of the book that I read. I enjoy the whole concept of Bloodshot, the female helper that he had, the kids that he has to rescue, that it turns out they think he's the enemy because he was the enemy at some point. And if it's not making much sense, it's because I probably should have read Harbinger to start out with, God damn it. But so far, my exploration into Valiant is going well. I enjoyed Bloodshot. If you can find it, I would definitely put my hands on it and grab it. I'm looking forward to really immersing myself into it. The pro and con is the same thing for Valiant, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's a very tight universe. So that makes all the stories cohesive and interlocked, but since it's so cohesive and interlocked, they need to be read in a certain order. You can't just stick your hand in and pull a book out and expect to know what's going on. So I would suggest that if you're into Valiant, start with Harbinger, which I did not do, but from what I've read, I'm really looking forward to getting into it. This guy has an awful lot of voices in his head, which I can relate to because I've got so many voices in my head. I don't pay attention to the ones that tell me to kill. He does pay attention to those voices. So I would definitely recommend it. And I just wanted to show off my shirt, which I got. This shirt rocks totally. I'm sure everybody's jealous of it. From my Funko Pop box. And let me just mention, there are no more than one bastard. There are now the Bastards 3, as I call them. Tyler Chu, Emily Donnelly's husband, Brendan, and Ryan Sace. For private reasons, they are the Bastards 3. They were talking shit about me in a group PM that we had, and I decided to get revenge on them by calling them out on the air. So you guys are bastards. Thank you.
Look at him casually flexing.
Well, I think they're bastards because I'm not included in the fun group PMs.
Oh, it's them talking filthy. I'd be happy to.
Somebody's saying you're flexing.
Daniel McBride. What's that?
Somebody's saying you're just casually. Oh man.
That's right, buddy.
Hashtag Silver Fox.
Anderson Cooper, eat your heart out.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you. Daniel McBride's in that group too, so it's very funny. It's just a little chat where they tell the filthiest jokes possible because they can't tell them on the Omnibus page. So it's those guys are definitely bastards. I can't say Daniel's a bastard because he didn't talk shit about me, but he could well be a bastard in real life. I'll have to keep you posted about that.
We should start like an event subgroup just for like dirty jokes and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
A Yo Mama subgroup.
Let everyone go fucking ham in there. It would be best. Like, you know, PC out the window. Like, just do whatever you want.
Oh
Just
god.
not even moderated.
Yeah, no mods. Nothing. Just fucking
man.
go for it.
So it'd just be a wasteland of just depravity and filth.
Oh
Right.
yeah. I mean, I run another group that is that.
You do?
I do. I run another group that's just depravity 100% of the time.
What's on Facebook?
Yeah.
What is that group?
I'm not telling because I don't want it associated with me. But a few people from there are in our group, and they've been surprisingly well behaved. Like,
Oh my gosh! I didn't know you were cheating on us, and you had another Facebook
well,
group.
I'm cheating on them with y'all because I've been doing that for like 8 years. So it's basically like 4chan meme group. We've been doing it for 8 years, and so it's the same group of people. Like, it's like we've gone through school together and we know each other, and it's just like horrible jokes all day, every day. No censor. Like, I feel awful, especially when like we're talking in the admin chat and about stuff, and we're like, that's not good. And I'm like, oh, geez, I just made a joke about that on the other page.
So you get out your filth on another page, and then you come off as all proper on our page.
Yeah.
No wonder you have an outlet for your filth.
Wow.
That's it. I mean, that's how you do it. You have to let it all out elsewhere, and then so in private life, or no, in private life you let it all out, and then in public life you're okay.
Oh, no wonder I'm messed up. Mine's all bottled up. I don't have another outlet for it.
Well, yeah, we can have the subgroup, and we'll let it all out.
Well, it's your page, so you get to do whatever you want, buddy.
I guess we'll find out. We'll see what happens.
I want nothing to do with it. I got my hands full with the Bastards 3. They're plenty.
Just how great was that panel though involving the cow and Bloodshot?
Oh, yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about in the first one?
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't think I can get to it. But do you have it right there?
I haven't opened it up. I read the trade and then somebody sent me that hardcover.
Oh, okay. That's right. Let me take a second to say two things. I got this has nothing to do with hardcovers, but it's something you guys always talk about, and I'm totally left out because
Tacos?
I don't know. No, I've eaten tacos before.
Oh, okay.
Anime. I've watched no anime in my life, and Sherlock Alexi in our group did the nicest thing. He got me a copy of all the seasons of Cowboy Bebop, and I have been getting into it. I've watched the first disc, which is like the first 10 episodes, and I love frickin' Cowboy Bebop.
It's so good.
It is so great. I'm having so much fun just totally binging on it. And I mean, I don't really have any photo bait. Here's what the discs look like, but that's really about all I can show you. But I've watched no anime whatsoever, and I can see what I've been missing now. I love this Cowboy Bebop. I can see why everybody. I posted on the Omnibus group that Sherlock had sent it to me, and by far, that's the most comments that I've ever received on one of my posts. And sometimes I get a lot of comments, but I mean, I got hundreds of comments on how much people love Cowboy Bebop. I had no idea how popular this thing was. But yeah, Sherlock, I really appreciate it that he does the Splash Panel podcast, and I really, really dig it. And so I guess I'm about a third of the way through, and I have been specifically told to get the movie and watch it between, I don't know, episodes 23 and 24, or whatever it is. I have it written down. So I have to get the movie, and it kind of reminds me of Firefly, a show that I really loved. But I just wanted to say I'm fully in the anime camp now. Totally dig Cowboy Bebop, and it may just be a matter of time before I'm into manga too.
Well, on that note, I'm gonna show you your next big whale.
Uh-oh.
That's the Cowboy Bebop manga box set.
How is the manga?
Ooh.
I've heard mixed things.
It's for something that's based on an existing anime.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It's not bad at all. And I mean, mind you, it's been years since I read this. Like
Is it the further adventures of them, or just the TV show adapted?
No, it's not so much an adaptation. It's just more adventures that they're going on.
Oh.
So but it doesn't necessarily take place before or after. It's just kind of in between episodes. Just more things that they've done, more cases. So it's solid. It's not horrible, but it has been. I read that when I was in middle school, so I really need to return to it.
So that was just a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, back when I was in middle school with a full beard.
You little spuds.
Actually, I did have a full beard in middle school, so I should probably take that comment back.
Wow.
I totally believe it.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
I guess I should talk about what I read this week.
You were the only kid on the playground in 5th grade with 5 o'clock shadow.
Dude, when I was in high school, they called me the clock beard because I could rub my face and tell you what time it was.
Clock
It
beard.
feels like noon.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so this week I didn't finish reading anything. I read the first couple chapters of Tomi because I was like, fuck yeah, Japanese horror movies or Japanese horror comics. And it's pretty good so far, but as with all Junji Ito stuff, I feel like it's one of those that really builds and gets better as you go. So I'm really looking forward to that. I also Louise, I finally read the first issue of US Avengers.
How great is it?
It was great. The only disappointment I had was I didn't realize it wasn't General Ross. That was the Red.
Yeah.
There's another Red Hulk. So that came out of left field for me. But,
Same.
Whatever. That's okay. I'll go. It's fine. He still has Star Spangled Briefs, and he still has a mustache.
How great is the villain base?
Yeah. The villain himself is pretty freaking great.
Yeah.
Like I definitely recommend it. It's as ridiculous as I would have wanted it to be. And it does really well to follow up on what Al Ewing has been doing with all his Avengers books. So I'm on board for that one. And I've said this so many times, but the best part about that book is it's written by a British dude. So he's obviously making fun of like American nationalism and stuff with this series, and it's fantastic. It's just amazing.
I love the little squirrels the squirrel girl flies in with, and they've got like little jetpacks on them and helmets. I started dying laughing.
It's great. It's so good. It's fantastic. And the villain is great too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my Valiant order in. So I started rereading the first volume of Exo Manowar because that was the first volume that I started reading Valiant with, because I think it was the first collected edition that came out in paperback. So I read the first couple chapters of that, got sucked back into it. I remember why I loved it so much, and now I'm excited to get back into it and start reading past what I had read before. So that's going to be really exciting. But that's pretty much all I read this week. So I'm going to segue into what I bought or what I received this week. And then we can go to you guys after that, after I do mine real quick. So this week, yesterday actually, was my anniversary with my wife. So we've celebrated now 3 years together.
Woohoo!
Very happy, still happy. I made a little post on Facebook talking about basically how marriage is not an easy thing. Marriage is something that you have to work at, blah, blah, blah. And it's important to note that. And it's important. I wanted to put that out there because this year there are a lot of friends that I see on Facebook that are getting married. My sister is getting married. And I may only be 3 years into marriage, but if I have any knowledge to impart, it's that marriage is a constant thing that you need to work on every single day of your life. You go through ups and downs, but in the end, it winds up being worth it because you're with the person you want to be with forever. And we've had rough time the past few years. We've had really great times the last few years. And in the end, there's nothing I'd rather have gone through with anyone else in the world than what I've gone through with my wife. So we celebrated yesterday. We actually both got each other our gifts way earlier than our actual anniversary. She got me this new leather jacket, which is great because we're going to Colorado on vacation next week, so I'm going to stay warm out there. And I got her a Louis Vuitton bag that she's been wanting for apparently her entire life, because when she got it, she started crying. So that was great. She was also rewarded on her anniversary, on our anniversary day, or the day before, by finding out that she got a new job, which is going to be significantly better than her current job. So we're very excited about that as well. But my wife also let me have a tiny little shopping spree at Best Buy. So I grabbed several movies. And I know Jess is curious about what I got because I was talking about it before. Nothing terribly interesting, just kind of filling gaps in collections in my DVD or Blu-ray collection. First, I got a cheap copy of Inglourious Bastards. I love this movie. And there was only a few spots of my Tarantino Blu-ray collection that I hadn't filled yet, and that was one of them. I grabbed the Steelbook Blu-rays of the original Star Wars trilogy. So there's A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back.
Can you open that up? What I'm new to the Steelbook game. What's going on with Steelbooks? So it's just really cool. It's a really cool case.
Pretty much.
Uh-huh.
It's like the
beautiful.
It's like the oversized hardcovers of movies.
Are they expensive?
These were $17 each.
Oh, okay.
Typically not much more than your standard stuff, unless it's something really special. Like, for instance, they didn't have it this time, otherwise I would have obviously gotten it, but they had a Blu-ray Steelbook edition of Space Jam the last time I went to Best Buy. This time they just had the standard one. The Blu-ray Steelbook edition went for like $15, and the standard one was about half that price. The plastic case.
Okay.
And there's Return of the Jedi. I also downloaded a version of the original prequel, or not the original, the prequel movies that are merged into one film, taking all the best parts and making it into one 2.5-hour movie.
Ooh. The 2.5 hours? You mean one 10-minute movie?
Here's the best part about that. I started watching it, and I haven't watched all of it. I watched like maybe 15 minutes. The only sequence from episode 1 is the final fight with Darth Maul. Like,
wow.
After the text roll goes up, they go directly into the final fight. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I love it.
That's about right.
Like, tells you the background of, like, blah, 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 Anakin, Tatooine, Anakin hates sand, yada, yada, yada. And then Darth Maul fight. And it's great. It's fantastic.
I just can't do it, Mom.
What's the name of that cut? Where do I get that?
I just went onto like a torrent website, and it's just called The Last Turn to the Dark Side, because it's a fusion of like The Last Hope and Turn to the Dark Side, which are 2 fan edits. There's another fan edit out there that I can't find because I think it's pretty impossible to get, which was actually put together by actor Topher Grace.
What? And
it's 80 minutes long, so this is a little bit more Jess's speed. It's only like 80 minutes long, and it's his edit, and apparently it's a really well put together edit. So that I'm just putting that out there. But
that's still 80 minutes that I could be watching Cowboy Bebop.
That's very true, though. I'd recommend that. But this cut is not bad. Like, so far, what I've been watching, they definitely cut out all the they trim out the bullshit, and they kept the Darth Maul fight, and then you get directly into like what seems important about the second movie. But anyway, moving forward, I also grabbed the first season of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
I still need to watch that.
I watched the first episode of this on the Starz website because it was up for free, and I really dug it. So I was really excited to grab this because I love the Evil Dead movies, And my wife and I are watching that together, and she's really digging it too. It's great for anyone who likes those movies. It's a great continuation of that. And now I'm really wanting to get into like the Army of Darkness and Evil Dead comics. So you might see me in the next couple months with a few of those books on the shelf. And speaking of anime, I grabbed a Blu-ray copy of Ghost in the Shell. I recently got rid of my DVD copy, so I needed to replace that with the 25th anniversary edition of the Blu-ray. And then for next Christmas, I got a movie that I'll be watching, and that is Batman Returns, one of the best Christmas movies out there.
Hey.
And then finally, the big one I grabbed was the Alien anthology set.
Ooh.
So I'm excited. I absolutely love Alien and Aliens. I've watched the director's cut of Alien 3 one time, or Alien Cube, if you will. And I have not watched Alien Resurrection before, so I'll be excited to get into that.
Mm.
And
is that 4 movies that's in that?
Yes, it's got 4 movies.
Okay.
Only 2 of them are worth it.
Yeah.
Just think of the last 2 as kind of Elseworlds tales.
I think that's what they're treating them as anyway, like with the new movies that are coming
I
out.
think so.
But this set is really beautiful. Like, it has this little book in there that has all the, like, some artwork, and the discs are shoved in there.
You just found out this morning that Blade Runner and Alien are kind of in the same universe.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Good timing that y'all were talking about that, because I just grabbed this set, and so I'm really like in like an alien state of mind right now. And then you're all like, yeah, Blade Runner's in the same universe. I'm like, what the fuck?
Speaking of Blade Runner, here's Blade Runner right here. This
Hell
is 5-disc complete collector's edition that Gabe Bustamantez gifted me that I just got today.
Ooh.
And it has the final cut, which I have not seen. I haven't seen it since it was released in movie theaters back before you guys were born. So I need to see the final cut. And that's pretty cool that it's set in the Aliens universe, according to our chat, which thank you, Gabe. I'm going to put something up on the Omnibus page tomorrow, but this was a great gift. I'm really excited about it.
Final cut is the best.
The OmniDog seal of approval is what it got.
Have you ever seen Blade Runner, Jess?
Yeah, you totally tuned me out. I just said I saw it back before you were born.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I was paying attention. I was paying attention to the chat. I'm sorry.
You don't hang on my every word? What the fuck?
I'm so sorry.
Holy smoke.
I woke up at 5 in the morning. I'm sorry.
I'm up at 5 every morning, so whatever.
Yeah, dude.
I woke up at 5 in the morning. I'm like on allergy prescription pills right now, so I'm like, ugh.
Whatever.
Yeah, so I haven't seen Blade Runner in about 30 years, so I can't wait to see the final cut and see what's going on with that.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've watched it too, so I'm going to have to get a new copy and then watch it so I can put it with my Alien stuff. And then, didn't Gio say something about Gladiator also being in the same universe?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if that's. I don't know. That's
I think that was a Gio theory.
Yeah, I think that's Geo fan fiction is what that is.
No, I don't know, but whatever it was, I want to get on that. Because that sounds fucking amazing.
What was the plot? Like,
I don't remember, but it was something to do with the Lost sequel that they were going to have to Gladiator, and it was some random shit that I don't understand completely, but
he gets rebirthed and comes back to kill Jesus or something, right?
Yeah, apparently there was a script floating around called Gladiator 2 or something like that, and Maximus gets called on by God. He is reborn, and he's sent to kill Jesus or something like that.
And then Bill O'Reilly writes a book about it called Killing Jesus.
I believe that.
I need to finish talking about all the books I got this week.
Oh, you got books?
Yeah, I got books too.
Let's see them, Home Pizza.
Let's blast through it because we need to get on to the main topic. So I'm just going to turn my computer, and you can see that second underneath the Ninja Turtles. Underneath the Ninja Turtles, next to the Power Rangers, are all my Valiant books. So those all arrived, most of them from in-stock trades. The greenish one in the middle is Quantum and Woody off of Amazon. So really excited to go through some of those for the second time, some of them for the first time. Some of them are continuing from stuff that I've already read. So all around, it's going to be a good time. And then as far as books that I got, let's see. I also got from Mr. Clayton Barbe, he sent me this book as a gift. It's volume 3 of the Jurgens and John Romita Thor, which I've not read, but he knew that I was looking at getting a bunch of Thor books, and this was one of the runs I was curious about, so he had an extra copy and decided to send it out to me, so that was awesome.
Good guy, good guy.
Let's see. From In Stock Trades, this past week, One Punch Man Volume 10. Haven't dug into that yet, but that's always a quick, fun read. And then the Incredible Hulk Epic Collection, Future Imperfect. Next installment of the collected editions for Peter David's run. After this, I hypothesize there should be 2 more Epic Collections to finish off his run. So I'm really looking forward to that because his run has not entirely been collected before. So it's going to be a really fun thing to have. I'm trying to think of a good word. It'll be a really big monumental thing to happen. And then I got the 2 oversized hardcovers from Marvel this week, or this past week, that came out were Amazing Spider-Man Worldwide Volume 1 and Deadpool World's Greatest Volume 1. Amazing Spider-Man Worldwide, this is of course the current series by Dan Slott, which is leading into, the stories in this book lead into the current clone conspiracy stuff. So if you're reading that, then I recommend this. It's really fun. I really enjoy this new version of Peter Parker, the successful, the Peter Stark type of thing.
So you recommend that book? Because I was on the fence about it. I don't know anything about it.
I personally do. I really dig this because I mentioned it in the show before. I think that having Peter become successful like this is kind of showing, his evolution, and that evolution has always been important for the character because he's always been relatable because you're like, oh, he was a kid, and then he goes to college, and then he gets a job, and now it's the next step in his evolution. He gets the job that he's always been working towards. Also, I enjoy it because I know that it's not permanent, and I know that eventually he's going to go right back down into the pits, and he's going to have his Parker.
Oh, yeah. Pretty soon.
It's fun to see it while it lasts,
Yeah. Pretty soon he's going to be collecting an unemployment check again. Don't worry, folks. It's going to happen.
Yeah, he's going to go back and probably start taking photographs and teaching and shit again. Yeah. So whatever. But in the meantime, while he's got this new high-tech Spider-Mobile that you can see in the background here, and he's got this high-tech symbol with the light and all that shit on his chest, and he's got he's basically is Tony Stark. He has someone else that poses as Spider-Man for him while he's busy being Peter. So he's going to lose all that. It's going to happen. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying the ride, and Clone Conspiracy has been really interesting, really great follow-up to, a lot of those, a great follow-up to what Slott has been building up to the past year or so or more. And also a nice follow-up to a lot of the clone stuff from back in the 90s because you revisit those characters and stuff. And then a little word on the Deadpool book. This one is the next collection to follow the Deadpool Omnibus that came out last month. So if you read that and enjoyed it, then you'll definitely want to pick this one up. Brian Posehn is no longer co-writing this book. It's just Jerry Dugan on there. The main idea here, and you can see these color-coded Deadpools on the back here, very Green Lantern style. The main thing, the idea is that Deadpool has now become an Avenger. After the events of Secret Wars, he's joined with the Uncanny Avengers. He was brought in there by Steve Rogers, and now he's making money. He's got, he's now enterprising himself. So he hires a bunch of different characters, some mercenaries, some vigilantes, and stuff like that, to come and work for him as his own heroes for hire. But Luke Cage tells him you can't call them the heroes for hire, so he decides to call them the mercs for money. And this volume collects issues 1 through 7, as well as 3.1 or 3.1 of the current Deadpool run. So it seems like it's a really thin book. It's only 8 issues, but one of those issues is triple length, so it's a little bit longer. Is one of those issues completely in Spanish? Yes, it is. The last one, 3.1, is completely in Spanish.
That's awesome.
So that's awesome for you guys since you speak Spanish. What am I supposed to do?
I don't know. Suffer.
That's not really the answer I was looking for.
That's the answer you got. But aside from Jess's inability to understand Spanish, this is a really good book that I recommend. I really dig where the story goes, and it also has some really interesting stuff that he does with the actual mercs. Interesting characters he gets in there. You have, what is it? There's Fool Killer, Madcap, Slapstick, Terror, Stingray. I think Solo is in there. And then the Hispanic one, the reason there's a Spanish issue, his name's Massacre, and he's a new character to that. And then you have him take place of one of the characters after something happens in the first arc. As well, you get the first issue of Deadpool 2099 in the same vein that the last volume had. Between every arc, there was a flashback issue that went to like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and stuff like that. This volume, every arc in between has a 2099 issue that flashes forward into the future where we get to see Deadpool 2099. So that's been really fun as well. I also wanted to mention really quickly that the next oversized hardcover is probably only going to collect 5 issues. And I wanted to address that because that's kind of ridiculous. But the reason is because one of those issues, Marvel had a crossover between Deadpool, 2 issues of Deadpool, Power Fist and Iron Man, Power Man and Iron Fist, and Daredevil. But instead of separating it into a bunch of different issues of each series, they just combined all 4 issues together into one. So one of those like 5 issues is going to be a quadruple-sized issue. So that's why it's probably only going to be 5 issues for the next oversized hardcover. I wanted to address that before before it got solicited and people in the group started being like, "What the fuck is going on with this?" But that's this week. That's what I got for this week. So we can finally get on to the actual topic for this week, which is event books. And so each of us have chosen a couple of events that we really dig. I'm probably going to talk about at least one event that I really don't dig. And
Drunk Riley makes an appearance.
No, no, not that. But I also wanted to kind of wax on the ideas of what y'all think makes a successful event and like what makes an event unsuccessful. Like I know in the past couple episodes, as we talked about Civil War II, Luis and I have been talking about some topics such as the fact that there's useless tie-ins, like literally tie-ins that have nothing to do with the actual event. I talked about the fact that Civil War II was way too disjointed to actually be an event. It seemed like, 8 separate little single-issue stories that kind of tied together. It was just horribly written. But, what in that manner, what makes a good event so good? What makes us actually want to read these events? So I don't know who wanted to start.
Let's take that topic and start with it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hardcover.
I would say focus. I think the best events are the events that the writer goes in and he knows, pretty much like any story, where he's going to end it, where the beginning, the middle, and the end is. We recently saw what I think is a pretty damn perfect, almost perfect ending for an event, is Secret Wars. Mm-hmm. If you read Secret Wars, I think it reads just fine on its own. It's self-contained. And to me, I only read Secret Wars. I didn't read any of the side stories. And I was like, you know what? I am perfectly content with this story, with how it's ending and where it's going. Now, the side stories I heard, they vary in quality. I've heard some are better than the other ones. I've heard, I think, Thor's, was pretty good from what I've heard.
Yeah.
What are the other ones that I heard were pretty good?
Weird World was great.
Heard that.
Siege is good and actually ties in.
Ennis had a few books that I heard were pretty good too.
He did like Where Monsters Dwell, which is a World War II pilot getting on like a island of monsters or something like that. That was pretty good.
I think the best ones are the ones you can read without having to buy 50 other books.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Thor might show up in one panel and he might say something, and it's like, okay, well, I got to go on this thing. And you're like, okay, I could choose to pick up that tie-in issue and go, you know what, okay, that interests me. Or I can just go about and continue reading the main book, and it has no real general effect to the overall story.
I agree. And that's one of the huge issues that we saw with Civil War II, and also with the original Civil War, was that neither, with those events, especially the second one, they focused too much or relied too much on the fact that they're assuming the reader is going to buy into all these tie-ins. And that might be easier in retrospect when you're buying like collected editions, the paperbacks and hardcovers. But when you're reading it month to month, it can be daunting and confusing. Like, I didn't read Civil War when it was coming out in issues. I bought the collection, and I also bought like the Spider-Man paperback by J. Michael Straczynski, and I bought a couple of like other tie-ins for the characters I cared about, and I got a good full story out of it. But I can imagine how unnerving it can be to jump in there and be like, oh, now I have to move to this other book to find out what's happening with Spider-Man and what's happening with the Punisher. So I agree with what you're saying there.
Can we agree? I think that everybody feels like I feel like Marvel does this more than DC, but maybe I'm wrong. There's just goddamn many events.
Yeah.
I'd like a year of no events where you can just tell a story that I don't have to go branching out and finding all these other books for. Can we just, like, it seems like it's event after event recently in Marvel's universe. Maybe that's my perception, but it just seems like it's nothing but events almost.
Yeah.
I think there's too many.
I agree with that. And that's one of the reasons why I like all of us, all aboard the hype train for Valiant, but all of us are reading Valiant stuff right now, and the events, from what I've heard and what I've seen, because I've been following the reading order that's been posted from Reddit, it's pretty self-contained. Like, you read Harbinger Wars and you read like 1 or 2 issues of Bloodshot or 1 or 2 issues of Harbinger, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're very very organic, the way that they unfold. They come out of the stories that are already ongoing in these series. So it's not because another big problem with some events and the tie-ins that they suck into them is they seem like they're just thrown down by editorial, and all of a sudden, like, all these different writers have to halt what they're doing and make way for this event. Sometimes they can make something good out of it, but more often than not, it's just really jarring because it's making these stories seem more disjointed, because one moment you're seeing the character do things that pertain to what is going on in their ongoing series, and then all of a sudden they're sucked into doing something that ties into the event of the month. So it's really annoying.
Well, I wouldn't even say... I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jess.
No, go ahead.
I wouldn't even say just like events. I'd say books in general. Like Jason Aaron's Thor run, which I absolutely love. You get through the first arc with God Butcher, and you knew Thor: The Dark World, the movie was coming out, and they had Malekith in there, and it kind of felt like editorial went to Jason Aaron and said, look, we need a Malekith story so it could tie into Thor: The Dark World, and he just shoehorned something in there, because my opinion, that Malekith story was not that good. I think it's not terrible, but it's Jason Aaron, so I kind of hold him to like a higher level, and I was like, this is okay. And then after that Malekith arc is over, he jumps in and he finishes off the God World, the God Butcher stuff incredibly well with a badass Galactus story.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying there. And the cool thing with Jason Aaron is he bounces back, though, in both the next arc, but also in the current stuff that's going on with female Thor.
Mm-hmm.
He's brought Malekith back in a way that actually does seem organic. So now it makes it feel a little less shoehorned in. It makes it feel a little less like editorial is mandating that story, even though it's obviously what they did. Mm-hmm. So for future readers who are reading it down the line, they're able to enjoy it a little more without thinking like, oh, Malekith's just in here because of the fucking movie that was on at the time. So he saves it, is what I try to say.
What were you going to say, Jess?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I was collecting singles, I specifically remember my LCS when Convergence came out, and I just let out an audible sigh. I said, "You got to be kidding me! Another event? We just got done. It seems like we just got done with an event. I don't want to have to collect all these other issues of stuff for some story, which Riley's going to talk about in a minute, since I'm going to segue into his talking about Convergence." But it was like, I'm tired of these events. I don't want to have to go after all these other issues. So I just have I have an issue with events in general. That's just I don't dig them in general.
Because we've all got event fatigue by this point. Because it's one thing if they happen, if there's one major line-wide event every 1 or 2 years. Less than every 1 year. It should be every other year, because every year it's too quick, because the event winds up being at least 6 months.
Yeah.
You only have a few months of recovery until you head into the next one. So it should really be every other year or so. And like maybe small mini series everywhere, like scattered around, like they did several years back. Marvel did Chaos War, which is very self-contained. And it really, like, it didn't, shake things up outside of just for like the Hercules series and maybe a little bit for like the Hulk series at the time, which that's fine. That's cool because it worked for what it needed to do. It was, Pack and Van Lente doing their thing. But then, when you have something huge like Civil War II, it's an event that took like so long to publish, from issue 1 to issue 8. It took almost an entire year, and now they're already planning the next event, which is, I'm looking forward to the Secret Empire with the Captain America books, because that one actually feels organic. It's actually coming out of stuff that Nick Spencer has been doing, whereas Civil War II just felt like it was slapped onto our books because Captain America Civil War had been coming out. But they're already, my point is, like, there's no recovery time. They're already going into the next big book. They're already heading into the next direction. And before Civil War II, what was the event before that? There was a smaller event like Avengers Standoff. And then before that, there was, Original Sin happened. And it just doesn't seem like there's that much time for us to recover from one big event to the next one. Oh, Secret Wars, obviously that happened.
And next year when Infinity War comes out, we're gonna get either an Infinity Gauntlet 2, or an Infinity Wars event. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, they're gonna do something. It's gonna happen, and it's gonna be really annoying.
And it's gonna be Bendis is probably gonna write it.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be half-assed.
Yeah, unless, because Jerry Dugan did just get announced as a new writer for Guardians of the Galaxy, so maybe they'll have him pen whatever that event is, because he didn't do the Infinity Gauntlet storyline for Secret Wars, which was another pretty decent miniseries. So, we can cross our fingers.
Let me just say, as group historian, since I've lived through so many, back in my day, we didn't have events every 2 years. We just had stories. I don't remember growing up. I don't remember events. I mean, every year the Justice League and the Justice Society would get together and fight Earth 29 or something.
You had crises.
I think if I recall correctly, I think Crisis on Infinite Earths to me seemed to be the very first event that, correct me if I'm wrong, that spanned like an entire line and had tie-ins, and you had to collect it, all across the line. Because I don't remember events taking over an entire company like that before that. I don't remember that in the 60s and 70s. So I'm positing that Crisis on Infinite Earths was the first event. Do you guys feel that way, or do you not care? Or
I don't want to agree nor disagree because I'm not absolutely sure.
Same.
Okay.
Well, I feel like you might be correct, but I'm not 100%.
I just don't remember events before that.
I think he is right now.
That seemed to me to be the first event type thing back in the 80s.
Crisis on Infinite Earths, there were several Crisis on multiple Earths, because it was Crisis on Earth whatever, Crisis on Earth whatever, like
Right.
annuals and one-shot type issues.
Exactly.
But those were not necessarily full-fledged events. They were just single-issue things.
Right.
But to come off of what Jess was trying to segue us into, and me just shitting all over Convergence, Convergence is fucking horrible. Like that, to me, that is the definition of an event gone wrong, because it was something that was just completely spun out of editorial mandates. There was no need for that event to happen.
Right.
It had no bearing on anything. Actually, it did do one thing. It did one tiny thing, and maybe this was been undone in a book that I haven't read, but it's where we kind of got the seed of pre-Flashpoint Superman coming into the New 52 universe. That's the only thing that it gave us is that tiny seed of getting the crossover. But it didn't even give us that until later on. So the whole thing that really pissed me off about Convergence is that Convergence was what Flashpoint was supposed to be. Flashpoint was supposed to be a Band-Aid event, as they called it a lot of different places, which was meant to hold over editorial until everyone could move from one coast to the other. Because Flashpoint was supposed to happen whenever DC's offices were moving.
Yeah.
The move was delayed until, a couple years ago. So they'd already done Flashpoint because they had already, in preparation for the move, they already had the idea for all the different things that were going to happen, and they ran with it. And that's why suddenly all these books got canceled that shouldn't have been canned, like great books like Secret Six and stuff, and why, you get such jarring endings to books like Green Lantern and Batman Incorporated, which would then restart in the New 52. So Flashpoint was meant to just be a Band-Aid, but instead we got that with Convergence. And what basically happened, as soon as everyone was moving, they organized for 2 months with completely pre-written, pre-drawn, pre-edited stories that all they had to do was turn on autopilot and ship them out over these 2 months. And everything else was put on pause while they relocated. And then as soon as they came back from those 2 months, they restarted with issue 41 of all the New 52 titles, just as if it had never happened. Yeah. And it was awful. It was, the main story was just a pile of shit. It was the worst event. It's worse to me than Civil War II. And I ranted about that last week enough, but this event was just so much worse. And somewhere, like a couple years ago, I wrote an actual review for it that's somewhere on my website, and I can fish it out if I need to, but it was just me just ranting and raving about how horrible that event was because of the things that I mentioned, and the fact that it doesn't lead towards anything, the fact that it's just completely pointless, the fact that it's a fucking dime store brainiac that they're fighting against. It's horrible. And my biggest argument, or my biggest complaint, was that you would think a book with like 5 different versions of Batman fighting alongside each other would be better, but no, it's a pile of shit. It's awful.
Yeah, that was the big selling point with all those different Batman.
It was like different versions of all these different characters, because the whole idea behind Convergence was all these different bottle Earths, which were bottled of like different timelines. So there was a bunch of these 2-issue miniseries. There are actually a lot of them, like probably 10 out of the 20, wound up being pretty good. And there was ones that were based like, pre-Crisis and 0 Hour and pre-Flashpoint and stuff like that. So you got different versions of these different characters told by different creators who, may have touched these characters before. Like I think Greg Rucka did a Question miniseries, and Len Wein did the Swamp Thing miniseries, or like different stuff like that. They've touched them before, or creators that haven't touched these characters in a long time are coming back on them. And it was really cool. Like half of those miniseries were actually really good, but they didn't add anything to the actual Convergence as a whole. So that's wherein my biggest disappointment lies. And I just ranted about that for so long and told everyone, like, don't fucking give them money for this shit because they don't deserve it. I know there's probably someone out there that loves it. You're wrong. I'll just tell you that right now.
Well, if Civil War II made you drink, did Convergence make you do heroin?
I don't know, man. Convergence put me in a dark place.
Wow.
But and it gave us Telos, a 6-issue miniseries about the shitty villain that they fought. So fuck that. But yeah, it gave us Superman back, so that was cool, I guess.
Well said, sir.
But yeah, so that's my definition of just a horrible event, because it was complete editorial mandate. It does not spin out of anything that was happening before in the comics, and it doesn't lead directly into anything that's happening now in the comics. For me, a great event is one that, while it can be read self-contained, it also has its definitive spot in the continuity of the comics. I think that it should make you, while you can completely understand what's going on in said event, in that series itself, it should make you want to read what happened before and makes you want to continue reading what happens afterwards. Because this is, that's what comics should do, is it should make you want to keep going. It should make you want to broaden what you've already seen. So in my mind, if you're not doing that, then your event is kind of just, it fucking sucks,
So we can talk about good events now, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've ranted enough about what makes a good event and what events are not so good. I guess we can talk about the events that we actually liked.
Okay, good.
So who wants to start?
I can start on an event that I loved and that I had bound, which is Flashpoint.
Wow.
And that's how much I had it bound because I had so many issues of it. But the reasons I liked Flashpoint, I liked the idea. First of all, I liked the idea that it was taking a big chance. It was completely redoing everything in the DC universe to lead into New 52. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there that don't particularly like New 52. I loved that didn't like New 52. I loved New 52 because I thought it took a chance, and that's what I really liked about comic books in general, is when they are willing to take a chance, break out of their regular stories, and they're willing to do something different. And Flashpoint was completely different, where the Flash is the only one who wakes up, and he's in a completely different parallel world, and he doesn't know what's going on. And we've got the Amazonians fighting the Atlanteans, and you've got Thomas Wayne as Batman instead of Bruce Wayne. Superman is kept in a lead-lined vault without ever seeing the sun. And here's some art from it. And you've got I had to write all this down, but you've got all these different characters where Barry Allen's the only one that seems to remember anything, and he's got to try to explain to people that something's going on. There's an underground that Lois Lane is a part of. Wonder Woman's battling Aquaman, and it has, to me, I generally loved it because it was out of the box thinking, and it had such radically different versions of everybody that it really kept my interest. And it was spotty in places because it had so many different writers and artists. So there were some strong things and there were some not so strong things. But it promised a completely new universe to follow. And I liked that the very beginning of New 52 because it had a Superman that was just learning how to use his powers, and he was the world was learning about him. And then you had Snyder's Batman, who was completely different and dark. And you also had stories like I, Vampire, and stories like Frankenstein and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And yeah, and I, to me, in Flashpoint, the best the best twist I have ever read in a comic book, and as historian of this group, that means it's the best twist ever, was Thomas Wayne and the revealing of who the Joker was in the Batman arc. I never saw it coming. I had no idea who it was going to be. I just put the book down and went, what the hell was that? When it got revealed who the Joker was in this parallel dimension, I thought it was fantastic. And I wish I had my act together enough, and I only had the whole day where I could have figured it out, who the writer was of that Batman arc. Maybe there's somebody out there that can tell me in the chat. But to me, that was great writing and just made me go, whoa. And the fact that Barry finds out how to get the world back in order, and Thomas Wayne, whose son was killed, Bruce was killed, and Thomas became Batman. He says, I don't care if I lose my life. I get the world back to the way it was. Get Bruce to be Batman. Here's a letter that you can give him from me, which was a huge gift.
Oh man, that moment when he gets the letter too is a gut punch. Oh
yeah, Batman cries when he reads that letter. That's an amazing thing. Yeah, that's an amazing thing. And the strength of that event to me was that it was so different and so interesting. And the characters were all very different, doing very different things, and they were fleshed out. And I thought it was something that kept my interest because it promised new things. It tried something different. It wasn't haphazard. It seemed I don't know about. I mean, Convergence does sound like a Band-Aid event, because Flashpoint, if it was planned as a Band-Aid event, I can't speak to that because I don't really know anything about it, but I just thought it was really well done, and that's why I was really super psyched. I just want to show them off again to get them all bound, because I just can't. I just loved what it promised, what it did with the characters, and they're out of order. I got to get them back in order if I want to show them properly. What it promised and what it delivered, and it delivered New 52, which I really enjoyed. I'd say 3/4 of the titles, and I totally. I'm not going to say all the titles were great, because they weren't, but it gave us a lot of good titles. And Manipul's Flash, and some I can go down the list, but that's why I dug Flashpoint. I just I thought it was it made me eager to get the whole thing together and read it all at once and just go, whoa, this is amazing. It just held my interest, and I don't think it hit any wrong notes. To me, I really enjoyed it. So that's Flashpoint. That's a positive review on Flashpoint.
I want to read Flashpoint again now.
It was fun.
It was
I
such
enjoyed
a good
it.
event. It was a really fun event.
Yeah.
It's a shame we got New 52 out of it, but not saying that everything bad came out of New 52. New 52 had a lot of good stuff in it. Yeah,
I think it did. I know there was a bunch of dreck in there, but there was a lot of good stuff that came out of it.
I dug Flashpoint. I really did dug it, and I like it's definitely one of that scene will always be stuck in the back of my head where Batman reads that letter and he's just Ah, the feels.
Yeah. Well, the scene that I just can't get over is just the Joker reveal. I thought that was brilliant. I just thought it was brilliant. My jaw just dropped. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, there was on the topic of the New 52, there was a lot of good that came out of it. It really, I think it started out full steam ahead, and while there was that initial just, you know, kind of confusion and anger out of confusion about what they might have taken out, and you know everything's changing, there was a lot of good happening. There was a lot of really great creators right at the beginning, but they
Yeah.
definitely, I think the negativity comes because it became derailed after the first, you know, very steady decline. Like more and more good books were dropping off because of editorial problems and stuff. And by the time you got to like the third year, you had maybe a handful of really good books and then a bunch of decent stuff, and the rest of it's just ass, just not worth it. And it really sucked. And they kind of picked it back up with the after Convergence with the DCU stuff, YOU.
Oh yeah, I
A
forgot
lot
all about that.
That's where like Omega Man came from, and
Oh
a bunch
yeah.
of books like that, where they kind of let the creators be free again without all the editorial mandates. But that only lasted for about a year before they went into Rebirth. And Rebirth has started good so far, but I mentioned on a thread earlier today that it's already kind of going in that same pattern that New 52 went to, in which it started like full steam ahead,
Yeah.
firing all cylinders, but already some of the books that I was enjoying, I'm getting kind of tired of.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, the ones that were great at the beginning are still pretty much great. Like Superman, great. Green Arrow's great. Batman's been like went from good to great, and we're seeing where that's going now.
Tom King really has found his footing on that book.
Yeah, he definitely got into a good spot now. But a lot of those books that were really, really good that I was loving at the beginning are still continuing that way. It's those ones that like were either surprisingly entertaining or they were like, you know, kind of middling. They've just gotten boring for me. So I'm hoping that it doesn't go into a mass exodus of talent and enjoyable
Oh
books, because
gosh.
that would be horrible.
One thing I like. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel the same way, like you said. We're starting to show not everything has gone downhill, but like it's starting to show. Okay, I'm starting to lose interest in certain books. Like I dropped, Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman. I just dropped the whole thing.
Really?
I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. I did not care for it. Did nothing for me. It's not terrible by any means. It's just I have so many good things to read.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't make the cut.
Well, I don't. That's too bad. I don't like hearing that. With New 52, one thing I love the idea that Superman was just figuring out his powers. The world, he was in jeans and a t-shirt, and the world was just getting to know him. And they could have gone so far with that, with his, just with his life on Earth. But it didn't take long before it was just Superman battling giant creatures from space again, and it was just the same old Superman to me. I just lost interest. Now,
and I like that. I liked Grant Morrison's Superman. I love the Action Comics when he's in the boots.
Right.
I love that stuff. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, Grant Morrison's action was great. I don't know. They just could have done so much more with that, and I'm really bummed to hear that Rebirth might be falling off already, but I'm hoping that it's just sort of a lull.
I hope that we're wrong about that, because I don't want Rebirth to fall off.
Yeah.
I want it to continue being strong, but it's getting to the point where like every week when I'm reading new stuff, I'm like, this is not as good as it was. And
I haven't read any of it, so I can't comment on it, but I know I'm looking forward to the hardcovers.
We'll let you know what's worth picking up, though. I will tell you from day one, Suicide Squad and Justice League were ass.
I can't believe that. Is too bad, because Justice League to me was the one book that stayed great, besides Batman, all throughout New 52.
But now they've got, it's Brian Hitch with, it doesn't even matter who's on art because Brian Hitch doesn't know how to write.
He's not a writer. He's an artist.
Oh, dear. That's disappointing. Because Justice League was so strong in New 52.
It's just not worth looking at anymore. Hopefully Justice League of America winds up being good with Steve Orlando because he's a good writer than he's not.
Yeah. And you're saying Suicide Squad's not good?
I read a couple issues and it's part of it is like they insisted on having Jim Lee as the artist, but Jim Lee can't keep a schedule worth crap.
No, he can't.
He's literally drawing half of each issue, and then the other half of each issue is like a backup story.
DC, listen, don't put Jim Lee on art. Do not do it. He's not going to finish the book on time. He's going to get 3 issues in, and he's going to fall off. It always happens.
He didn't even get 3 issues. He just gets half issues now.
It's ridiculous. Like Jim Lee at this point is a name. He's a name that's synonymous with a lot of comic fanboys out there. They love his stuff, and I've never been a super huge fan of Jim Lee. I like his stuff, but he can't finish a book. He just can't. How long did we wait for the final issue of Superman Unchained?
God, I don't even remember.
I don't remember that either, but I remember it was a long time.
We're still waiting on, no one really cares, but All-Star Batman and Robin.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they never finished that.
Was that Frank Miller or Jim Lee's fault or both?
Probably both.
Yeah.
I'm the goddamn Batman.
Hey, well, that was a fun part.
That's the only fun part.
I think we kind of disrupted Jess's talking about... Did you get to talk about both of your books, Jess?
I didn't. I was going to let Luis go on something that he liked.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go with... I actually changed my mind last minute. I'm going to go with Annihilation. I dig the hell out of Annihilation. I really dug this. I think this is one of the examples of an event done right, especially if you could track down the Omnibus. This will run you a pretty penny right now, unless you get super lucky. But I dig this a lot. Annihilation basically centers around Annihilus coming into the world, and he has brought his Annihilation Wave, and now a whole bunch of these ragtag random superheroes from the cosmic universe come together and they try to stop him. Along the way, Thanos is wrapped into it. Annihilation is awesome. I love this event. It's basically the start of the Marvel Cosmic Universe. And I think what sucks about Annihilation is that this was going on the same time that Civil War was going on. And I didn't think at the time it got the love that it deserved. Because I remember going into comic shops and the whole wall was covered with Civil War. Like I don't know if you guys were walking into comic shops at that time, but you could not walk into a comic shop without seeing Civil War, Civil War, Civil War, Civil War, like a whole shelves full of just Civil War tie-ins. And Annihilation was just kind of shoved in the background. But I love this event. I think it's awesome. It's pretty much self-contained, do a few books. You've got your, let me look at the back real quick. The Drax the Destroyer mini, Annihilation Prologue, Nova, Silver Surfer, Super Skrull, Ronin, which I love the fact that this also gave Super Skrull more of a character arc. You get to know him a lot better as a character. He's still an asshole, but you still end up liking him a lot more. At least that was me.
You're saying Super Skrull, not Super Squirrel, right?
No, Super Skrull.
Got it.
Squirrel? Did I say it right?
You did say it right. I was just slurring my hearing.
That's kind of hard for me to say. But yeah, I dug the hell out of this. It also has one of my favorite, most badass double-page spreads where Nova takes care of Annihilus. I don't know if you guys remember what the panel is.
I don't.
I don't want to ruin it. Reaches into the mouth.
God, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been too long for me.
Oh my God, it's such an awesome moment. You want to talk about payoff, but this really was the beginning of Marvel Cosmic, and everybody's jumping on the Marvel Cosmic bandwagon right now. Everybody's trying to get the omnibuses. Everybody's trying to read through them, and they're like, man, this stuff is really great. I'm like, yeah, it's really great. And what's great about this also is that after you get through Annihilation, you start reading Nova, and Nova actually comes to Earth. And in kind of a fourth wall breaking moment, he's talking to his family, and Nova goes, "You guys are arguing over this I'm paraphrasing, over this stupid shit with Civil War. Meanwhile, I just spent the past few months saving the entire galaxy and nobody paid attention to it."
I remember that. I do remember that very clearly.
Yeah.
That was it. Oh, that was like okay. They're talking talking right to the audience. Like nobody was fucking paying attention, and we saved the galaxy basically, and nobody cared.
Well, they care now.
Yeah, well, they definitely care now. And for those of you that are wondering, War of Kings is out of stock on his stock trades right now.
I wonder if that's gonna, because there was like a million books that went in and out of stock and then back in stock like last week or two. So I wonder if that one's gonna do the same thing.
Oh man,
I don't know. That just shows why you got to get these things when they come out.
yeah, definitely Marvel Cosmic. You have to get the stuff when it comes out, and like we were talking earlier, this is pretty self-contained. You know, all the miniseries they came out. You read the miniseries, and it went into the next mini. Basically, everything builds upon everything else leading up to Annihilation, and this really is the start of modern Marvel Cosmic. And I got it. Dan Abnett, and Andy Lanning. They basically took heroes that nobody really gave a shit about at the time, and they put them, in my opinion, at the forefront of the Marvel universe.
They're the reasons why the Guardians of the Galaxy that we have in the movie are those Guardians of the Galaxy, like those characters.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're not Jim Valentino's Guardians of the Galaxy. As much as I'd love to see a movie that stars those characters.
Well, that'd be fascinating.
But yeah, I agree. Annihilation is definitely one done right. It stands by itself. It'll make you want to keep reading cosmic stuff. It'll make you want to go back and read more cosmic stuff. That was my big criteria of a good event. And it's just very well written. Like each of the stories there's a ton of different creators in there. You know, Keith Giffen writes the main event and the Drax mini, and then Abnett and Lanning write the Nova stuff and some of the other material, I believe. And they go forward and do more stuff with the cosmic universe than Giffen does. He kind of leaves at this point, but they keep on doing more. And they do such a great job of fleshing out Marvel's cosmic universe, which was kind of non-existent outside of a few appearances of cosmic characters here and there, or, you know, the regular Jim Starlin Thanos series that would pop up every few years.
Yeah, and just so you know, he changed to Luis changed to Annihilation from Fear Itself. He was going to talk about how much he liked Fear Itself.
It's not true. No, I especially love what they did with Nova. Like, I really dug that. You know, they fleshed out the Nova Corps, and then pretty much destroyed the Nova Corps. But they really did a lot with that character. And to this day, Richard Rider is like somebody that a lot of fans were going, well, when are you going to bring back Richard Rider? He's awesome. And then they brought him back, and a lot of fans are going, well, how the fuck did he come back? Because of the situation that he ends up in at the end of the series.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a panel I posted in the Omnibus Collectors Facebook group that sums up my feelings involving comics for like the past few years, that Nova, when he comes back, he says to a bunch of kids.
Yeah, isn't something like, why is everyone kids now?
Something like that, yeah.
When did you post that? I don't think I saw it.
It was like a few days ago.
Oh, okay.
Because it was in issue 2 of Nova.
Yeah.
Came out last week.
But yeah, that's my one event. I guess we'll keep going and then we'll go around. Riley?
Yeah, Riley. What do you like?
We might only have time for a single one because it's almost.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree. I think that's fine.
What were the other ones that y'all were wanting to talk about, just to give guys the idea of like what our other, you know, some of our other favorite events were?
My other favorite event was using the great graphics that I have. Death of Superman. I was going to talk about the death and return of Superman because I lived through that as I've lived through everything, since I have such life experience.
I think you're just fucking Uatu.
I'm what?
You're the watcher.
Oh, that's right. I'm the watcher of the group. But I mean, if we have 2 seconds at the end, I can sum it up in 2 seconds. But I'd rather. It was a book that I mean, it was a series. The death part was only like a little bit, and then it was the aftermath that was so interesting, really, to me. World Without a Superman and stuff. So that's what I was going to talk about. And if we have time at the end, I'll talk 2 minutes about it. But I'd rather hear what your positive review is of some event that you like, Riley.
Oh yeah. Well, I just wanted to say I think we could really go on about Superman and have an entire episode just dedicated to the character.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
I would even say we could probably have an entire episode just on Death of Superman. And we could listen to Jess just pretty much just wax on about the impact it had on the industry.
I mean, we could, one or the other. I think we should organize that and either a Death of Superman episode or a Superman episode in general.
That sounds fun. Yeah, a Superman episode would be good.
Maybe that's in the books. Maybe that can happen.
All right.
What was your other book going to be, Luis?
My other one was going to be Blackest Night.
That's right. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, the Green Lantern event to pretty much end all Green Lantern events. I love Blackest Night. Basically, Jeff Johns' entire run was culminating into this moment. The introduction of all the different lanterns, the Sinestro Corps War, the Black Lantern, going to Sector 666 and then discovering the Black Lantern and bringing it back to Earth. Just basically everything led up to Blackest Night. It also has one of the most badass Aquaman moments where zombie Aquaman comes back and he sets zombie sharks against some of the members of the Justice League. Oh my gosh, it was so awesome. There are literally, as I'm thinking about it, there are like 5 or 6 moments out of Blackest Night that I'm like, holy shit, those were great moments. Who else? Let me think. That
was a groundbreaking event with the introduction of the emotional spectrum and everything.
I think it was really great because it's one that's so like just intertwined to what Johns was already doing on his Lantern run, and it's a hugely important part of that run that also affects the entire DC universe,
right?
And can be read on its own. And like I actually got into Jeff Johns' Green Lantern because the guys at my comic shop were telling me, he's been leading towards this Blackest Night thing for a while. This is one of the best books that DC's putting out. I'm like, oh, really? I hadn't read it before. And I started picking up all of it, and I fell in love with it. And by the time Blackest Night actually came out, I was like full steam ahead. I had read everything before that, and it was great. It was fantastic.
I love the moment where basically the rings give them abilities to deputize some of the other members of the Justice League. Oh my gosh, like my little geek heart went like, oh, this is so badass. This is so bad. Flash has a power ring. Holy shit.
And like all the different mini series that you got, like there's the Blackest Night Flash mini with the Blue Lantern Flash in there.
Yeah.
So dope. I actually have a Blue Lantern Flash figure. I'm sure Jess probably has some figures of the deputized lanterns.
And Batman getting the fear ring.
Yeah, I do have some figures. I can't access them right now, but I do have some figures.
I figured you
would. One of my favorite moments, not to get into too many more spoilers, but Jon Stewart coming back from the planet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That was so good.
Yeah, that entire sequence, like that whole idea of having that happen.
Yeah.
With the planet and stuff.
Yeah.
But my one that I'm going to talk about, I had 2 like the other guys. The other one I was going to mention was going to be Giant Size X-Men. Not much of an event, just a single issue. And then like before we started talking about events, I was like, you know what? I don't really want to talk about a single issue, and I think it's kind of like obvious that I would want to say something about the X-Men. So I was going to talk about Crisis on Infinite Earths, but we kind of talked about Crisis on Infinite Earths already, so I don't feel like I really need to touch up on it outside of saying Crisis on Infinite Earths is a fantastic freaking event that completely changed the DC universe in really interesting ways. And it's one that really, like, for me, it made me want to understand everything that I did not understand. I read that series and I was like, wow, this is so dense with so much lore that I just want to go and read everything I can. So I really love Crisis on Infinite Earths. But the one that I'm going to actually go into today for my event, and this is, I might have mentioned it on the show before, but this is one of the first events that I've ever read. And it really means a lot to me. And I know some people are not that big of fans of it because it's a little dated, and that's the original Secret Wars series. The original 12-issue limited series of Secret Wars, of course, starring the Beyonder as he takes heroes and villains from around the Marvel Universe and puts them on Battle World. And this is, of course, the series that inspired Jonathan Hickman's Secret War series from a couple years ago or whatever it was. But I absolutely love the original Secret Wars because it's so simple yet so effective. Just the idea, this was like Marvel's first huge event, not their first event period, I know that. It was their first huge event that really brought characters from all over the spectrum. Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and it even brought villains into the spectrum as well and have them team up with and fight against each other in different situations. And, you know, I do realize this series was literally written just to sell toys. But there's so many cool scenes in here and so many great sequences with these characters. So much great material in here with Doctor Doom and Galactus and other characters like in these books. And specifically, it's, you know, it gave us a lot of things. It gave a lot of things to the Marvel Universe, but mostly people are going to remember it because it gave us Spider-Man's black costume. Mm-hmm. So it lended, after this event ended, it lended itself to the Marvel Universe and actually went forward and gave us some important things. So I love this series for how simplistic it is and for how I just think well constructed it was. And I think, you know, you can do no better as an introductory event to the Marvel Universe than to have someone check out Secret Wars, as long as they're not averse to kind of dated dialogue and stuff. It's just a fantastic little series, and there's so many callbacks to it in the Marvel Universe now and since this thing has happened that just really just show how important this series is. And as well, one of the most important facts about Secret Wars, I think, is that it really gives, if you're a new reader, it gives you that understanding about how huge the Marvel Universe is and like how dense it can be and how many characters there are interacting with each other at different points. So it was really just an amazing thing for me to see. And I just reading this as, you know, as a comic book reader, before I read Secret Wars, I read a bunch of solo books of different characters here and there. Basically, you know, I read a bunch of X-Men, Wolverine, Spider-Man, some Iron Man thrown in there as well, whatever interested me. But this was the one that really, it brings all these characters together. It helped me to love characters that I didn't already love. It helped me to love the characters I already loved even more. And just, you know, I loved it so much that I had to have Jess track down this omnibus for me.
Fun fact, that was our first transaction together like 3 years ago. I found Secret Wars 1 and 2 for you.
I still haven't read all of Secret Wars 2, but
I was a brand new reader of your Tumblr page, and we got into a conversation about it, and yeah, I got you those books. That was my first transaction, my first OmniDog action.
Yeah, and I got the package, and then I posted on the group, so you were one of the first verified traders in the group.
Nice.
So I said, this happened before the group started, but I just wanted to verify that Jess Bragg is a great trader to work with.
Trader or trader?
With a D.
Okay.
D for dog.
Just check. I haven't read.
Right. Well, I
Do we
guess
want to go into question and answer now, or
maybe for a few minutes, real quick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be up till 1 in the morning because I'm gonna try to get a Nintendo Switch tonight if it goes on sale.
oh yeah, that's right. You were gonna go right from this to getting online.
Yeah, just to watch the. Well, it starts in an hour. The Nintendo Live event or whatever it is. Because I'm gonna try my luck and see if I can get one tonight.
Yeah, if by the time I wake up tomorrow morning at 5, if Amazon has pre-orders open, I'll probably wind up placing one.
Yeah, the rumor is it's at 1 in the morning tonight. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot.
What
My time.
for it to go on sale on Amazon,
Yeah.
or GameStop, or wherever?
Open.
Yeah. So we'll see. But questions. Somebody said I've never read Secret Wars 2. Is it any good? By Carlos Cazares.
Oh yeah, I know Carlos.
Yeah, I haven't read that one. Like I said, I haven't read the second one. I've heard it's not nearly as good as the first one. The quality of the first one being completely objective, but have either of you guys read it?
I've only read the first one.
I know the second one stars like an actual human version of the Beyonder in a disco suit. So, I mean, take that as you will.
Riley, do you think there will be an Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 4?
There will be an Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 4.
So it has been spoken, so it shall be.
So it shall be. I believe it should be by the end of 2018 at the latest is when we should see it happen. I like the how do we feel about the Green Lantern Corps movie news?
Oh dear.
Because we were talking about that earlier in one of our chats.
What's the news? I haven't been paying attention. Which I should be actually probably writing this stuff down for Sunday.
Yeah.
That David Goyer is going to be writing the script.
Ah.
So there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
So Goyer is going to be writing the script for this movie. Goyer, of course, has already written the script for Man of Steel and BVS. And did he also do Suicide Squad?
No, that was Ayer. Ayer and somebody else.
Okay.
No, Goyer didn't touch that.
Yeah, it's not. I don't have.
In all fairness, Goyer did write Batman Begins and Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I don't think he did Dark Knight. I know he did Batman Begins with Nolan, though.
He did Dark Knight, and Christopher Nolan and his brother took over the script based upon like whatever little skeleton that they picked apart from it, basically, and went with it.
Okay.
So I think Jonathan Nolan, for the most part, gets writing duties on that.
I think that a lot of what's with Goyer is like it's really make or break depending on the director.
Yeah.
And do they have a GLC director?
I don't think so.
Zack Snyder.
No.
I'm kidding. I have no idea.
Shut your whore mouth. Not happening.
Yeah, I try to be hopeful. Like I've tried so much to be hopeful for everything that happens with the current DC slate of movies, but I wind up just getting shit on in the end. So I've become entirely cynical and expected nothing but more shit.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to be positive.
Yeah. At this point, it's like I have battered wife syndrome. I'm like, I just keep coming back, but DC just keeps hurting me with their movies.
Yeah. And, you know, at this point, it's like I'd rather just stay negative and be proven wrong than to try and be positive and be proven wrong, because it hurts so much if it's the latter. It's so much worse. Like, I don't think I discussed BVS on this show at all, but...
you don't have enough bourbon.
Oh,
you don't have enough bourbon for that.
There's not enough bourbon in the world.
That movie makes me want to drink way more than Civil War II or Convergence ever could.
Now, have you seen Suicide Squad?
I don't want to now. Like, I was at least morbidly curious before, but after finally watching Batman vs. Superman, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I think, Jess, you said you liked it, right?
Suicide Squad?
Yeah. You
I said
enjoyed
I
it?
didn't. I said I didn't hate it.
Or you didn't hate it?
I
Okay, I'm
didn't. I
not putting
didn't
words
hate
in
it.
your mouth.
Yeah, it kept me entertained, and I didn't hate it. But I understand what the complaints are. But
Um,
yeah,
uh,
but I love Harley Quinn, so that I'm sort of
mhm.
biased.
Harley Quinn and Deadshot were the standout things, but my 2 cents. Again, these are just my 2 cents. Riley, Suicide Squad makes Batman versus Superman look like Schindler's List, and we just lost Jess.
Yes, that's how horrible that
That's how horrible that movie was.
Oh man. Yeah, that. Man, I could go on forever about Batman versus Superman. I have like
Martha.
in many different places, in private chats, in comments and stuff, about how much that movie angered me because it literally like I even through all the BS that I heard about it, I tried to go in positively like, oh, I grabbed the Ultimate Edition, maybe it will be good, and I watched the Ultimate Edition. I was like, I'm just more disappointed than I thought I would be. So it was a really bad thing. I still have it on my shelf too. I was thinking I'd probably wind up giving it away or something, but I don't even want to put that on someone, you know. But they also had the recent news, kind of flip-flop news with the Batman movie with Ben Affleck, in which there was a report, and I'm guessing it was just rumor that he was not going to direct, and then now he's saying he is going to direct. And at this point, I'm just shutting my mouth because I don't want to form an opinion until it's actually starting production.
Yeah, we covered this last week on the news show. Me, Gio, and Gabe. And basically what's going on is that it's not a set in stone deal like Ben Affleck doing Batman. He came out and said, look, if I don't think the script or the material is good enough, then I'm not going to do it. You could take that in a number of different ways. Maybe he's just being completely honest. He's like, look, I'm really passionate about this. I really want to do this. Maybe he's trying to give himself a way out. In a few months, we might hear Ben Affleck leaves, DC for whatever reason. Which, if that's the case, that sucks because you're losing your Batman, and we discussed this on the show, on the news show. That's like you losing Robert Downey Jr. halfway through Marvel Phase 1.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Like at that point, you might as well Flashpoint the bitch because it's Batman. Like you just can't replace Batman in your universe like that, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's one thing to replace the Hulk.
Yeah.
But Batman is the A-list. He is number one for their universe. He's the one that's going to bring all the money. So it's like when Marvel had Tom Holland now as Spider-Man, like there's still a lot of dissenting voices on that because people are like, Jesus, it's been however many years and we've got our third Spider-Man. Like, for them to do that with a character as big as Batman, that would really be jarring for viewers. But I also think I wanted to say that if Ben Affleck does not do Batman, it's a real bad thing. If Ben Affleck does do Batman, it's not set in stone that it would be a great thing either, because you still have to be concerned about all of the factors that are holding back the other, WBDC movies, the producers and everything like that. The fact that Snyder seems to have his hands on everything, even though he's turned everything to mold. It could be, he could get the chance to direct and, feel like his script is great and that what he's doing is great, and then just get the movie edited to oblivion and completely screwed with, to the point that it's not even recognizable to what he wanted it to be, in which case he probably would wind up leaving anyway. So it's a battleground, really, like what's going on with these movies and stuff, and it's something that's not ever going to be easy to formulate an opinion on until we actually have the product in front of us.
Yeah. And just at the ground level, at the basic ground level, they just do not understand these characters. They don't understand what they have. They don't understand Superman. They don't really understand the character of Batman. I don't think they really do, because in the first film, and yes, I'm going to bitch about this, you have Superman snapping a dude's neck when the situation could have been resolved a completely different way. Look at the Richard Donner movies. Yes, they're old, but they're classics for a reason.
I understand also every single argument for that, what happened in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I understand where every single argument comes from, and I would have been fine with every single argument if they had redeemed everything by making Batman versus Superman that much better.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
They could have played up on that so much more.
Like it obviously they tried to use some of that in there and talk about, you know, he's still green behind the ears.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's obviously very devastated by what he's done, blah, blah, blah. But the next movie did not perform. The next movie did not give us something that would make up for anything that we might have had issues with. And so while I was, you know, very I watched Man of Steel and I went out of it with like enjoyment because I was the one arguing those points. I was the one saying these things and being like, what happens next is really going to be great because this is what they're going to do. And I was looking forward to Batman versus Superman so much. Like, if you were to hear conversations between me and my brother-in-law, like the year leading up to that movie coming out, it was so much different than everything I have to say about the movie now. It was just me going on and on about how I thought it was going to be fantastic. How I think that it's really going to turn everything around for DC. How it's going to be like just one of the best superhero epics that you could ever see on film. And then I got the finished product and it was the exact opposite of what I wanted. So it like literally it made me depressed. It ruined my day when I actually watched it for myself and saw how poorly I thought of it.
And I think Superman is a character that, at least my idea of Superman, my ideal version of him, he's a character that people should aspire to be. He should be what America and what society as a whole should hope to accomplish, should hope to establish, should hope to be the personification of in some way. I didn't get any of that in Batman versus Superman. And some people are saying, well, it's not like Superman never killed before, yada, yada, yada. And that's true. But the characters have evolved in the past 70 plus years that they've been around. Batman carried a gun before. He doesn't carry a gun now.
Well, I thought it was cool when he snapped Zod's neck, so that's just how I feel. I thought it was great. I saw a question in there about Star Wars books.
Buy all of them.
Have any of you guys read any of the new Marvel Star Wars books? They are awesome. Darth Vader is great. I love that book.
I literally can recommend every single Star Wars book that Marvel's put out.
Yeah, totally. And what was the collection of the 3 stories called?
Heroes for a New Hope.
Yeah, I love that one too. 2 of the 3 stories are really, really good.
Was the one that you did not enjoy as much, was it the Leia one?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, even though it was Mark Waid, it just didn't really strike, you know?
I kind of felt the same way. But the other 2 stories I really enjoyed a lot, especially the Lando one.
Yeah. You know, and I feel kind of dumb right now because I've been like wanting to see. So I've been like, oh yeah, they're gonna wrap up the stories between 4 and 5, and then we get to see some stuff between 5 and 6. I never really put 2 and 2 together that there's only 6 months between 5 and 6, and that's why they always spend more time telling the stories between A New Hope and Empire. So I feel dumb, but
Have you seen Rogue One yet? You haven't seen it, right?
I've seen it.
You've seen it?
Jess, did you? Yeah, you saw it, Jess. I remember.
Yeah, I saw it and I loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. And there's somebody, Gio requested Carol Danvers.
Ooh.
See if I'm doing this right.
Is that one of the pieces that you had to keep secret?
No, that's still in the mail.
Gotcha.
This one's been on display for a while. Yeah, no, it's Red Sonja that is going to be the crisis on Planet Bragg.
Crisis on Infinite Brags.
Crisis on Infinite OmniDogs. There's some of the other things behind me.
Dude, I'm telling you, just leave it on the dining room table and pretend like nothing. Just don't acknowledge it.
Jess, what is this? What? Statue of this very scantily clad woman
Battling this giant snake, this bloody giant snake.
What are you going on about, woman?
What are you talking about? That's
Look at
always
this.
been there.
Yeah, and it came with the house.
Don't you remember?
It's why we bought this house.
It's included with the closing costs.
That's great. Or try to like Obi-Wan. Like I said, try to Obi-Wan her. There is no statue here.
Yeah.
See how
What
well
are
that
you
goes.
on about? Harley and Joker statue. Which Harley and Joker statue? I don't have a Harley and Joker statue.
Maybe there was a figurine behind you or something.
There's a figurine of Harley.
On a Harley?
Harley on a Harley. Yeah. And there's another Harley right there.
And there's 3 Spider-Gwens.
Yeah.
Gee, Jess, 3 Spider-Gwens?
I know. I have a problem with impulse control.
Wow.
They're all different, though. They're not the same.
All new, all different Spider-Gwen?
Different poses, hooded, unmasked. Yeah. And then here's the one that I'm really, really happy with. That's Supergirl's first appearance. That's the recreation of the cover. That's a hard statue to find.
It's really awesome.
I love that one. So yeah, there you go. For those of you that care.
Everyone cares.
Hi, Gio.
And I've just got these 2 guys behind me, like Alex Ross posters.
I've got a
those
blank wall.
Where'd you get the Wolverine one?
The Wolverine one, I got both of these at my local comic shop.
I haven't seen that Wolverine one.
I just have a blank wall because my fiance is playing Overwatch at the moment.
So you got kicked out of the room? Actually, you know what? I don't think I've seen either of those posters. Those are really cool.
Yeah, it's Alex Ross, Wolverine, and X-Men. There's at least one other one. I know that there's also New Mutants. There might be other ones as well.
Oh, you don't have I would have thought New Mutants would be one you definitely would have.
I know, right? I'm surprised too. I think I didn't have, either they didn't have it there or I didn't have the money for it. And it was my least favorite design of all of them.
Oh.
So I went with these 2. And now I'm stuck because I can't fit, like,
right,
not really any retail space in my
yeah,
for anything else.
that's what I'm running out of too.
Yeah, I'm at a loss right here. Like, it's kind of annoying.
Thank you for hashtagging me Silver Fox, Matthew.
I didn't know you were in here. Hey, you snuck in here.
How do you sneak in with a bell like that?
I know. She must have gotten into the room and fell asleep in the closet. She does that sometimes.
This is your fiance?
Yes.
The cat is his fiance.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh.
We're to be married in a few months, Jess. It's kind of weird.
I was reading the questions. I wasn't seeing the cat on the bed.
So we got any good good questions to close it out?
I don't think so.
No. Any thoughts on the new creative team for Guardians of the Galaxy?
Anything but Bendis.
Jess, do you have any thoughts?
I haven't read a thing about it yet, so I don't.
It's Dugan, right?
Yeah, Jerry Dugan with Aaron Cooter on artwork, and it's the main 5 cast members from the movie. They've shrunk down Groot to be a baby because obviously movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna like synergy that they always try to do within the movie, between the movies and the comics, is always kind of annoying. But sometimes you can get a writer who can do something decent with that. So as long as, and Dugan is a great writer. I think he's really proven himself these past several years that he's been writing like constantly stuff for Marvel, like several series at a time. I've enjoyed pretty much everything he's put out there to varying degrees, some of it a lot more than other stuff. So if anyone can do something good with it, it's probably going to be Dugan. He can probably do something good with the Baby Groot, as long as they actually, explain why he's tiny in the series. That's all I'm asking. At least tell me why. At least give us a reason, and I'll be fine. Like, if Bendis' series ends with Groot getting blown up like the first Guardians movie did, and they have to rebuild, like plant him, and they just want to do it that way, okay, as long as they do something. But don't give us some bullshit where you're just promising us a year from now they'll tell us why, like they've done so many times with, like, they're doing it right now with Daredevil. They've done it in the books. Like, it's annoying. It's like, at first it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll stick around for a year. But now it's like, you've done this so many times, I don't give a shit.
Wait till you find out how Scott Summers died.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a good question that I want the answer to. Maybe you've been reading it, Riley. Have you guys been reading Justice League versus Suicide Squad? Speaking of events.
Nope.
No, I decided to take away from that one.
Yeah, I guess if those are the two worst series, you probably wouldn't even be interested in that.
But to be fair, like, it is written by Josh Williamson. Nailbiter fame, who's currently writing The Flash.
He's writing that?
Yeah, he's writing Justice League versus Suicide Squad. So to be fair, it might be a lot better than I'm giving it credit for. Yeah. But I've heard very middling things.
Oh, that's disappointing. I like his stuff.
To Kong's asking if we're going to watch a series of Unfortunate Events, and I say, fuck yeah, I'm watching that series.
Oh, I forgot that's on Netflix. I'm starting that tonight. While I wait for the Nintendo.
Does it start? I think
it's already started. It's on Netflix right now.
Oh, shit, I've been watching now I'm at a standstill, because I don't know if I want to continue watching Ash vs. Evil Dead or if I want to go into that.
I'm pretty sure it's already up.
Fuck, because I know it's supposed to be out on Friday the 13th.
Is it? Oh, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow, my mistake.
All right, don't scare me.
It's been getting great reviews.
Yeah, I'm excited. I loved those books when I was in, like, high school.
I've never read them, but my fiance loves them, and I've heard about them.
Really good. It's like young reader, but very, like, creepy and kind of avant-garde and very referential to other literary pieces in a way that, like, only someone that's more studied in literature can understand. And not just, like, in literature, like, it doesn't just reference actual pieces of literature, but it references, like, writing and actual writing styles and stuff in ways that I thought was really fun and interesting to read as a kid. But I'm really excited for it. But with that, I think we should probably wrap up. That's about 2 hours now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we hit a good point.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah. Anyway, anyone any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
I can't wait to do a Superman episode.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
That's gonna be fun.
We're gonna talk about Tomasi and Gleason. We're gonna talk about All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Red Sun if someone wants to.
I'll talk about Siegel and Schuster back when I started reading comics.
We can talk about. I know it's a joke, but we can talk about my other favorite Siegel, Stephen T. Siegel.
Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a bird, it's a plane.
Yeah, Stephen T. Siegel, It's a Bird, It's a Plane.
Great book.
Stephen T. Siegel being one of my favorite underappreciated writers.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Steven Seagal, the movie star from the 90s.
The underappreciated action star who is now a cop.
Is he?
I think so.
Under Siege is still a great movie.
Well, enough about Steven Seagal. Let's hit it. I got to get back to watching some TV and maybe reading some comics.
I want to go see some more Cowboy Bebop.
That's a good idea. I I want to watch more Cowboy Bebop too.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play the waiting game.
Sounds good.
Good luck, Luis.
Yeah, I'm gonna be pissed if I'm stay up till 1 in the morning and they're like, "Oh, but the pre-orders go live tomorrow at 9 a.m."
Oh boy.
At least you get a full 9 hours.
Yeah,
Or
I
8
gotta, I gotta be up at 5. So
At least you get a full 4 hours.
yeah, I know.
I want to get up at 5 tomorrow too, and we can start a chat. Except that,
Chat.
what time is that? My time, 6 a.m.
That's not bad.
That's not too bad.
That's
no,
what
that's sleeping in for you.
all right, guys. Where can they find you guys?
They can find me, OmniDog, on the Facebook page that Riley started, the Omnibus Pop, Stop, Drop, and Lock Shop. Wait, the Omnibus Collectors. Oh, frick. The Omnibus Collectors Swap. What is it?
It's my side group.
Yeah, your
The
side candy.
The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community.
Yeah.
Second part.
We're his mistress. You can find me on there where I make dreams come true for some people.
It's so true.
And Luis?
You get to find me at Hardcover Reviews on YouTube, Facebook.com/Hardcover Reviews, and Twitter.com/Hardcover Review. And as always, you can check out my content, and if you like it, you can check out my Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get some exclusive, cool content. Me and Jess, we have a news show that we do weekly.
Oh
Yeah, we do a news show
fun.
weekly. It's been really fun lately. Most of the people that have subscribed to Patreon, they're like, "Wow, we really enjoy this news show. It's been a blast so far."
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. It's actually, out of all the Patreon stuff, it's the most popular. I've been checking the numbers out. And
puff up my chest. OmniDog rules.
It's the most popular show on there. People seem to really dug it. We cover the news, not like what's going on with Donald Trump or anything like that, but like comic book news and movie news and stuff like that. I saw somebody get that confused. They're like, "Dude, I thought you guys were covering like regular news." I'm like, "No."
Oh,
it's
no,
just
no,
comic
no.
book stuff.
Fun news.
Yeah, it's fun news. So check that out. And yeah, patreon.com/hardcover reviews.
Where can they find you, Riley?
You can find me right here in my house. But if you're not in Austin, you can find me on the internet, on this channel, or on that group that Jess stumbled over, or in that other group that I'm not going to tell you about.
I can't wait to find out about it.
Or you can find me on other places in social media. I don't know. That's it. You can find me on my website, theomnibuscollector.com. The most frequent thing I do on there right now is just my weekly recommendations of the collections upcoming every week. I recommend books that are coming out, what I think that might be worth a purchase, worth a look. I don't have a Patreon, but if you want to support me, you can always do that via PayPal or just send me happy emojis. And
Lots of happy emojis.
And that'll make me feel better.
I'll send you happy emojis.
It'll make me feel good and make me be a better person to everyone in the world.
That is a public service.
Yeah.
Happy Riley.
Happy, joy. Happy, joy. But anyway, so that's it. It was a good show. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next week over on Luis's channel, Hardcover Reviews, of course, where we're going to be discussing some other new exciting things. Maybe Superman, maybe something else. I don't know. So again, thank you so much for joining us and sitting here for 2 hours, talking shit with us, listening to us rant, rave, and whatever, and whine. But this time not drunk. We'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Peace and love.